Hey everyone! Quick heads up. Compliance, Artifact, Audit Manager, and compliance programs shows up all over real projects, not just the exam. Double reason to nail it now. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which compliance document comes from Amazon Web Services and which one you have to produce yourself. The two services sit one click apart in the console, and engineers mix them up constantly. Get the boundary right, and audit prep stops being a panic exercise. Back in episode 7, we drew the line between security of the cloud and security in the cloud. Amazon Web Services handles the hardware, the hypervisor, and the global network. You handle the data, the IAM setup, and the configuration choices. Today we apply that exact same split to paperwork. When an auditor walks in, two documents land on the table, and they come from two different places. 5 terms anchor this entire video. Amazon Web Services Artifact is the self-service portal where you download Amazon Web Services' own audit reports. Amazon Web Services Audit Manager automatically collects evidence about your usage and maps it to compliance frameworks. Amazon Web Services Config records resource configuration over time and flags drift. A compliance program is a formal attestation that Amazon Web Services meets a standard, like SOC 2 or PCI DSS, and the Business Associate Addendum, or BAA, is the HIPAA contract that lets you process protected health information on Amazon Web Services. Code Gorillas just signed the fintech client we met in episode 13, the one with PCI DSS obligations, now adding GDPR on top. The auditor's first email is blunt: show us the controls, both Amazon Web Services side and yours. So the team has a question: which report can we hand over today, already signed and stamped by a third party? And which evidence do we have to produce ourselves, from our own accounts? Pick the wrong service and you either overpromise to the auditor, or you spend 3 weeks rebuilding work Amazon Web Services already did for you. Here's the mental model that solves the whole episode. Amazon Web Services proves compliance of the cloud, their data centers, their hardware, their hypervisor. You prove compliance in the cloud, your data, your IAM, your encryption choices. Same boundary we learned in episode 7, just applied to the paperwork side. 2 halves, 2 documents, 2 services. On the left, Amazon Web Services Artifact covers security of the cloud. You download reports from Amazon Web Services, SOC, ISO, PCI DSS, FedRAMP, plus agreements like the BAA and the NDA. It's self-service, and it's free. On the right, Amazon Web Services Audit Manager covers security in the cloud. It collects evidence about your usage and maps it to frameworks like HIPAA, GDPR, PCI, and SOC 2. That collection is automated, and unlike Artifact, you pay per piece of evidence captured. Let's look at what Artifact actually hands you. 2 categories. First, third-party audit reports. SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, the ISO 27001 family, PCI DSS, and FedRAMP. These are the documents an independent auditor wrote about Amazon Web Services, and you forward them to your auditor. Second, legal agreements you accept online, the HIPAA BAA, and the Artifact NDA1. Nice detail on the BAA. A single acceptance covers every current and future account in your Amazon Web Services organization, and every account holder, from a one-person startup to the largest enterprise, downloads the exact same reports for free. Here's Amazon Web Services' own definition from the Artifact User Guide. On-demand downloads of Amazon Web Services security and compliance documents, and they name the 3 big report families: ISO, PCI, and SOC. Notice the phrasing: downloads of Amazon Web Services documents. Not your documents, not evidence about your workloads. Amazon Web Services documents, on demand, in your hands. Audit Manager flips the direction entirely. Instead of handing you Amazon Web Services documents, It continuously collects evidence about your resources. It pulls from CloudTrail for user activity, from Config for resource state, and from Security Hub for posture checks. Then it maps that evidence to pre-built frameworks, PCI DSS, GDPR, HIPAA, SOC 2, CIS, and GXP, the good practice standards used in life sciences, or to a custom framework your auditor specifies. The practical win is that it replaces months of screenshots and spreadsheets with audit-ready reports that update on their own. One roadmap fact to keep on your radar. According to the Amazon Web Services Audit Manager product page, the service closes to new customers on April 30, 2026. Existing customers keep using it normally, and the Artifact versus Audit Manager distinction is still in scope for the exam. So learn the boundary, not the lifecycle drama. Picture an apartment in a certified green building. The landlord hands you the LEED certificate that proves the building itself is green. That's Artifact, the landlord's side proof. Inside your unit, a smart meter records that you actually recycle and keep the lights off. That's Audit Manager, the tenant side proof. The auditor wants both documents. The landlord certificate alone doesn't excuse you from leaving every light on, and your smart meter data doesn't certify the building's solar panels. Two sources, one audit package. Here's the recognition level tour of the major programs Amazon Web Services attests to. The SOC family, SOC 1, 2, and 3, covers operational and security controls. The ISO 27001 family includes the General Standard, 27017 for cloud-specific controls, and 27018 for personally identifiable information. PCI DSS Level 1 is the highest tier, and Amazon Web Services holds it as a service provider, which the card brands define as processing more than 300,000 transactions per year. HIPAA covers protected health information, and that's the one that requires accepting the BAA Fed RAM applies to US federal government workloads. And GDPR alignment covers EU personal data protection. Important calibration. You should recognize those program names: SOC, ISO, PCI DSS, HIPAA, FedRAMP, GDPR, and you should know that Artifact is where the reports live. You do not need to memorize what's inside them. Nobody is going to ask you for a specific PCI DSS requirement number. Think of these like nutrition labels on food. Different labels for different audiences. You don't need the recipe, just the label. Here's a classic scenario. A healthcare startup wants to store protected health information on Amazon Web Services. Step 1. They sign in to Amazon Web Services Artifact and accept the HIPAA BAA online. That takes about 2 minutes. Step 2. They build on HIPAA-eligible services like S3, RDS, and Lambda. But here's the part teams get wrong. According to the Amazon Web Services HIPAA compliance page, signing the BAA does not make you compliant. It only defines Amazon Web Services' obligations. You still have to architect, encrypt, and configure correctly. The BAA unlocks the door. It does not walk you through it. Quick checkpoint. Artifact gives you Amazon Web Services reports, free and on demand, ready for your auditor. Audit Manager gives you automated evidence about your usage, mapped to frameworks. That covers audit day itself, but audits happen once a year, and your environment changes every hour. So how do you keep tabs on configuration between audits? That's where the next service comes in. Amazon Web Services Config records the configuration of every Amazon Web Services resource over time. It also evaluates those resources against rules, managed rules Amazon Web Services provides, or custom rules you write. When a resource drifts from the desired state, Config flags it as non-compliant. One thing to internalize: Config is detective, not preventive. It records and alerts. It does not block. If you want to block the action, you need a service control policy or an IAM policy from the episodes we covered earlier. Config is the camera. SCPs are the locked door. Think of Config as a security camera with ADVR for your Amazon Web Services account. It does not stop anyone from walking through the door. What it does is record every configuration change, let you rewind to any moment in the past, and beep when something looks wrong against the rules you set. The three usual suspects it catches are S3 buckets drifting to public, IAM roles silently accumulating permissions, and emergency security group rules nobody remembered to remove. Look at how the services chain together in a real drift event. At 9:14, a developer toggles an S3 bucket ACL from private to public read for a quick test. 45 seconds later, config's managed rule for public read prohibited fires and marks the bucket non-compliant. Then 23 seconds after that, Audit Manager captures the finding as evidence under the PCI DSS framework, mapped to the control about restricting public access to cardholder data. 3 services, 1 audit trail, all without anyone taking a screenshot. Here's the full picture. On the left, 3 data sources feed evidence about your environment. CloudTrail records who did what. Amazon Web Services Config records resource state over time. Security Hub runs posture checks. Audit Manager sits in the middle, pulling from all 3 and mapping the evidence to whichever framework your auditor cares about. And up top, Artifact delivers Amazon Web Services' own reports directly into your audit package. 2 streams meet at the auditor's desk, Amazon Web Services side from Artifact, your side from Audit Manager, fed by CloudTrail, Config, and Security Hub. Last topic, penetration testing. Amazon Web Services lets you pen test your own resources on a defined list of services, and since the March 2019 policy update on the Amazon Web Services customer support policy for penetration testing, no prior approval is required for that list. If you're studying from older PDFs that say always file a form, those are out of date. A few activities still require approval or remain prohibited, and those are the edge cases worth understanding in detail. Allowed without asking, your EC2 instances, NAT gateways and load balancers, RDS and Aurora, CloudFront and API Gateway, Lambda and Lightsail, and Elastic Beanstalk environments. That covers the surface area most teams care about. Still needs approval or is outright prohibited, anything DDoS shaped, including DDoS simulation, DNS zone walking on Route 53, port flooding and protocol flooding, command and control or red team simulations, and S3 or subdomain takeover attempts. The pattern is straightforward. Testing your own gear is fine. Anything that could disrupt other tenants or Amazon Web Services infrastructure needs a simulated events form. Here's the analogy that makes it stick. Amazon Web Services is a hotel. You can test the locks on your own room anytime you like. Nobody needs a heads up. But if you want to set off the fire alarm, you call ahead. Routine testing on your own resources is the door lock. Disruptive simulation that affects the building is the fire alarm. Decision rules. If the scenario asks about downloading a SOC, PCI, or ISO report, the answer is Artifact. If it asks about signing the HIPAA BAA or accepting an NDA, also Artifact. If it asks about automating evidence collection, that's Audit Manager. If it asks about assessing your usage against PCI, HIPAA, or SOC 2 as a framework, also Audit Manager. And if it asks about recording configuration over time or detecting drift, that's Config. 5 keyword queues, 3 services. Memorize this matrix and most compliance questions resolve in seconds. So back to Code Gorillas' fintech client. Amazon Web Services' PCI DSS attestation of compliance and GDPR documents. Download those from Artifact today, no charge. The client's own controls, encryption from the KMS and ACM setup in episode 13, IAM, logging, feed and audit manager assessment using the PCI and GDPR frameworks. For ongoing state between audits, config rules watch S3 buckets, IAM permissions, and security groups for drift. And when the security team wants to pen test the EC2 application and the API gateway endpoints, they go ahead, no approval needed. They just skip the DDoS simulation, because that one still needs a form. 5 things to lock in. Artifact gives you Amazon Web Services reports for your auditor. Free, on demand. Audit Manager automates evidence about your usage and maps it to frameworks. Config records resource state continuously and detects drift, but does not block anything. Recognize the program names, SOC, ISO, PCI DSS, HIPAA, FedRAMP, GDPR, and skip the individual controls. And pen testing the standard service list needs no approval. DDoS simulation and DNS zone walking still do. Now let's see how well you absorbed all of this with a quick 5-question quiz. Question 1. A compliance team needs the most recent Amazon Web Services SOC 2 Type 2 report to forward to an external auditor. Which service delivers it? A. Amazon Web Services Artifact. B. Amazon Web Services Audit Manager. C. Amazon Web Services Config. Or D. Amazon Web Services Security Hub. Pause here if you want more time. The right call here is A. SOC 2 is a report Amazon Web Services produces about Amazon Web Services, and Artifact is the self-service portal that delivers it. Audit Manager would collect evidence about your usage, not hand you Amazon Web Services attestation. Question 2. A startup wants to continually assess its Amazon Web Services environment against the PCI DSS framework and produce audit-ready evidence reports automatically. Which service fits best? A. Amazon Web Services Artifact. B. Amazon Web Services Trusted Advisor. C. Amazon Web Services Audit Manager. Or D. Amazon Web Services CloudTrail. Lock in your answer before I give it away. It has to be C, and here's why. The keywords assess against a framework and automate evidence collection are the Audit Manager's signature. Artifact would only hand you Amazon Web Services PCI report. It does not assess your usage. Question 3. A healthcare company plans to store protected health information on Amazon Web Services and needs to put the HIPAA Business Associate Addendum in place for its entire Amazon Web Services organization. What's the fastest path? A. Open an Amazon Web Services support case requesting BAA countersignature. B. Email Amazon Web Services legal with the signed BAA as a PDF. C. Configure an Audit Manager HIPAA assessment, which auto-accepts the BAA. Or D. Sign in to Amazon Web Services Artifact and accept the BAA online for the organization. Think about which option matches what Artifact actually does. If you said D, well done. Artifact is the self-service home for both reports and agreements, and a single click can accept the BAA for every current and future account in the org. Audit Manager does not accept legal agreements. Question 4. A security team wants to be alerted whenever an S3 bucket's public access setting drifts from private and wants the ability to review the bucket's full configuration history months later. Which Amazon Web Services service provides this? A. Amazon Web Services Artifact. B. Amazon Web Services Config. C. Amazon Web Services Audit Manager. Or D. Amazon Web Services Macy. Run the decision rule from earlier before you answer. This one is B. The keywords are drift and configuration history over time. That's Config's job. Macy, from episode 11, would find sensitive data inside the bucket, but it would not track the access setting change itself. Question 5. A security team wants to run Nmap scans and a simulated DDoS attack against its own EC2 instances and application load balancer. According to Amazon Web Services penetration testing policy, what should they do? A. Both activities require submitting a simulated events form for prior approval. B. Both activities are pre-approved with no form required. C. Nmap scans require a form, and DDoS simulation is pre-approved on EC2 and ELB, or D. Nmap scans are pre-approved, and the DDoS simulation requires a simulated events form. Got your pick? Let's see. The right call here is D. EC2 and ELB are on the permitted list, so routine scanning needs no approval since the March 2019 policy update. But anything DDoS-shaped is explicitly excluded. That's the hotel fire alarm, and you call ahead with the simulated events form. And there it is. Compliance, Artifact, Audit Manager, and compliance programs, start to finish. Take the win. Take a break, and I'll have the next topic ready when you are.